All right, ladies and gentlemen, our next presenter, Andrew Scaglione. He's from Radio.Cloud. He's going to talk about AI and cloud technology today. And he's going to have a little bit of a town hall meeting and questions and so forth involved in that as well. Andrew Scaglione is a Radio.Cloud's account director, and at his third CCBE, he's been 3 years in a row now. It is truly one of his favorite events throughout the year. And apparently he's not saying that just to win points with me. Andrew's based in Cleveland, Ohio, and has a background in radio and television reporting, production, and writing. He moved into the affiliate relations and sales side of the business 5 years ago and joined Radio.Cloud 2.5 years back. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Andrew Scaglione. Thank you.
Hey everyone. So we'll trying something different for this, what's going to be our last paper of the day. I'm going to give you an update on where we are with AI and cloud technology here in 2024, but then try to keep that 15-20 minutes, and then the rest of it I kind of want to open it up and make it a little town hall, roundtable style discussion, just questions, comments, case studies, use cases, anything. So kind of keep these in mind, specifically about AI, but also about cloud as well. So what excites you about AI, how you're using it, how you've seen it grow over the last handful of years and fast it's evolving. Of course, what scares you about it, and just really anything. This is a kind of an open forum. So keep that in mind, and then we will return to that after I give you a little update on where we are. So start with cloud native, and what I mean by cloud native, which if you've been here the last couple of years, we've sort of delved into the technology of cloud-based versus cloud native, but just a little refresher, it's mainly you build something from the ground up in the cloud. So rather than shifting something that already exists into a virtual environment, this is from the ground up in the cloud. And companies do it to increase efficiency, productivity. It scales really well, helps streamline your workflows, of course, and then capital expenses can definitely be decreased, and you can even save some operating expenses as well. So with Radio.Cloud, that's the technology that we use at Radio.Cloud, and then our clients get to take advantage of that. So some case studies from around the world to kind of paint a picture of what a cloud native architecture looks like, not only in the scope of radio automation, but what it could look like for other parts of the media industry as well. So one of our clients in Texas is an all-news talk station, and they have basically 22 hours a day of satellite programming and 2-hour live morning show. They do the morning show in a studio, but they don't even need the studio because they're broadcasting through the web browser with Radio.Cloud. The cool thing about this setup was they decided to put all of the necessary and important equipment out at the transmitter site. So the Radio.Cloud playout boxes, but even more importantly, the 2 satellite uplinks and the 2 satellite dishes. And because of that, when Hurricane Beryl rolled through earlier this summer, they were one of 2 news talk stations in the Houston market not to go off air because they had everything at the transmitter. They couldn't access their actual studio building or their facility for a week, but because of the smaller hardware footprint with being a cloud native playout system that they adopted, they were able to stay on air, continue to serve the community, and really have no interruption in service at all. Another one of our clients out in the Bay Area, they have 4 stations, an FM HD1 and then HD2, 3, and 4. And the cool thing about this was we were kind of putting them on one at a time, so we got the 3 HD stations on. And during the final few weeks of the setup of the FM and HD1 station, they called us and said, hey, we just found out that we have to be out of our building basically at the end of August, so this is an active thing right now. But the nice thing about this is because they went to the cloud and they had already started kind of rethinking the way they were doing things, they were able to just take the backup box, move it out to the transmitter, and then we started running the playout off of that one while they moved the main box out to the transmitter as well. So suddenly they don't have to look for a full radio studio as a building to move into. They can then look for just something that fits what they need. Maybe one room for a studio, one production room, downsizing the building, saving costs that way, and just making it more efficient to access the studio from anywhere because of this cloud-native architecture. Something that I haven't actually brought up here at CCBE the last couple of years is this product we have called NewsCloud, which in terms of cloud versus not cloud is a pretty great case study. So this was actually around before Radio.Cloud in Germany. About 15 years ago is when this product launched. And the cool thing with NewsCloud, which essentially is a browser-based production hub for news networks. So you can produce news, localize it, and then distribute it to as many stations as you want. It scales extremely well. We had this product built, moved it to the cloud, and then sort of rebuilt it over the last year with all of these cloud-native functions, which I'll mention some of them here in a minute. And what used to happen with NewsCloud is you have producers writing news, producing news, recording news, up until about 10 minutes before the top of the hour. That way, we had those 6 to 8 minutes that it would take to distribute, for example, 150 different newscasts to these affiliates around the country. Now that it's fully cloud native, it takes about 6 to 8 seconds to distribute the same amount of news. So then the news producers can work an extra 5, 7 minutes and get 1 or 2 more updated stories in there. So it benefits the affiliates, it benefits the producers, and it's just a faster product because of the cloud native technology. So what the common factor is a cloud provider. In our case, it's Amazon Web Services, but we know there's other good ones out there too. AWS Lambda, which is what we focused a lot of our paper last year at CCBE on, is kind of the driving factor behind a lot of those case studies that I just talked about. Serverless computing, and essentially what Lambda is you don't have a server on site that's doing all these tasks. We're just renting one from AWS. So if you upload audio and let's say we're transcoding it, duplicating it, transcoding it, generating a playlist, little tasks like that, once that task is started, we rent a server. So basically we spin up a server at an AWS data center. And whether it takes half a millisecond to do that task, 1 or 2 seconds, once that task is done, we hand that server back. And it's scalable because you can have as many of these lambdas running as you want. It's cost effective because you're only paying for what you use. So if you really are just uploading one new file, maybe you're only paying for half a millisecond of actual usage in the cloud. And it's super fast because AWS has this global scalability and they have so many different, what they call availability zones and regions around the world. So we'll switch to AI now. And what we've done with AI is a few different things. Adaptive AI voice tracking is part of our platform now as an option for stations to use. ChatGPT, I think it was 3.5 really when we started developing this and rolling it out, but it's of course gone on to 4 and now even 4.0, and we know there's going to be more and more developments in the future. But basically, what I think the best use for AI is in radio is as an assistant, and specifically a research assistant, and I'll tell you what I mean by that. So VoiceTrack AI is our AI voice tracking module, essentially inside the Playout software. And the cool thing about this is it's not very manual. All you have to do is essentially you pick a voice and you set your content parameters, and then you can let it roll. It's perfect for an overnight shift, a weekend shift, somewhere where you maybe didn't have an actual host before, an unhosted day part. Just continue to promote local content. One of these case studies that one of our clients in Germany is doing, it's a network of about 15 stations. They have pretty much all music on the weekend, so they took 1 hour on their Saturday afternoons on all 15 stations and they said, let's do a chart show. So we, using this AI voice tracking technology, basically combed the Apple Music charts, Shazam, Spotify for each particular city, cross-reference those with a list of the top songs that the local program director would send us, and then essentially created an hour of a chart show, a countdown show, with an AI host, AI imaging, and then the cool functionality to swap out a song with one that's been trending recently, how AI combs the charts and finds that. So it's a really cool combination of local input from the program directors plus the AI technology to say, well, let's swap in a few songs that have actually been trending for Berlin specifically, but not for Munich, or for Hamburg, but not for another city. So that's kind of what AI can do, is it just takes a lot of the manual work out of building a show, especially if it's going across multiple stations. And then something that's been around since the start of Radio.Cloud, which, as we all know, AI has been around for a lot longer than the last 2.5 years. It's just automatic mixing, segues, back timing, and a lot of this goes into the machine learning category as well. And then one cool kind of getting nitty-gritty here. Usually what we do is we sort of have all the AI technology running in the background, and the clients just get the benefit of making a few manual selections and then letting everything run automated, because that's what AI can do. I think a future development is kind of what we're seeing here, which is you can so we'll take this client, for example, one of our clients in Finland. Finnish is not necessarily a language that's widely spoken, especially outside of Finland, so there's not a whole lot of AI. AI in Finnish is, it's developing, I guess we can say. So they're running a handful of day parts with AI voices, and it was good. It was not great. It wasn't perfect. Once ChatGPT 4.0 came out, it basically took care of all those problems. So that just shows not only how fast AI is evolving, but how impressive it can be. You take a language like Finnish, and suddenly it can create these prompts and output really good radio quality voice tracks. People in Finland, especially this client here, they probably know how to write prompts in Finnish in their language better than we do. So what we can do in the future is open that up to them to adjust the prompts that we've created, write their own prompts, and give them a little more control over the AI locally. So that is just another development that's coming in the future, and that's just ChatGPT 4.0. I mean, Google Gemini, all of these large language models I think it's worth saying that today's the worst they'll ever be, and they're only going to continue to get better and better. When I referenced before that I think AI's best use is as an assistant, this is sort of what I was referring to. So this is a product we have developing currently. It's called Assistant AI, so hence the name. It's going to be more of a playlist-specific research assistant, because as a host, what are you doing today? Your hosts are hosting a shift, maybe voice tracking another shift, probably have to put up a social media post or two, maybe write a blog post. We're all wearing multiple hats. So this is a tool just to save a little time on prep. It's not a full-blown prep service, but it's a playlist-specific prep service. So you can ask AI at my 7:30 a.m. break or my 10:45 a.m. talk break, give me content about the next artist, the next 3 songs, little things like that. It's going to generate a blurb for you, and then it's totally up to you what you do with that. So you can read it verbatim, you can paraphrase it, use it as inspiration, or you don't have to use it at all. But you can also take that and use it online, on the web, and repurpose it for multi-platform content. And it's also just a platform to give you, songs that are trending in your area, hot topics, today's hot news, record voice tracks. It's something that's going to get more and more functional and more widespread. But really at its core, it's using AI to comb the web, to do that research and that prep for you, to save you from having to do that when you come in the morning or the night before. And I always have a slide or two about sustainability, because I think it is a topic that we all should be talking about, especially in 2024. So with a cloud native architecture, and this doesn't just go for a playout software like us, this goes for anywhere, you really can reduce your hardware footprint. I mean, we have, I can show you guys in the exhibit hall, we have one little playout server, usually a main and a backup. And that's technically all you need to run a radio station. Of course, it's not just like A to B, black to white overnight, but that's what it could be. And it's nice and scalable because of providers like AWS, like Google Cloud, like Microsoft Azure, because like I described before with the Lambda serverless computing, you don't have to have those servers on site. And really, we as stations could never have that much compute power on site anyway. It's just not feasible. So that's why we're letting AWS do their thing, and we're taking advantage of that to keep our server rooms and transmitters filled with less equipment. And then the kind of tangential benefits of those, when you look deeper into it, maybe you can get rid of some of your hardware on site. Maybe then you don't have to have as much AC to cool your server room. Your electric bills go down. Maybe you don't have to manually install software updates or hardware upgrades for your equipment. That saves you money in operational expenses. So it's sort of, up front you think, well, if I'm paying monthly versus paying yearly, it's maybe it doesn't equal, but little things over time, it does help to be a sort of software as a service, taking advantage of these cloud native infrastructures and architecture. And it's sustainable. And I loved showing this slide because when we talk about sustainability, it really has to be from both prongs, from the client and the user and the cloud provider. So AWS is responsible for the sustainability of the cloud, which is their data centers, right? So they have, Canada East is, I believe, outside of Montreal. Canada West just opened in Calgary. US East, US West. All over the world, they have these availability regions and zones. Amazon is responsible for sustainability of how they build the data centers, how they cool them, and that whole part of it. And then a cloud client like Radio.Cloud, like other companies taking advantage of this, how we deploy our product, our code, and take advantage of these AWS, in this case, instances, is our responsibility. We're responsible for sustainability in the cloud. And then you as a client of a cloud native software or provider, you can also reap that benefit too, because like I said on the last slide, maybe you can reduce some hardware over time. So that's kind of just a very quick primer on where I see us at in 2024 in terms of AI technology and how rapidly that's growing, cloud technology and how that's just continued to get stronger and stronger. And I think we've all been well aware of it, but now everyone seems to be a lot more open as to where I can adapt this in my workflow. So I'm going to put this slide back up again, but really open mic, open floor, questions, comments. Let's make this a fun last 20 minutes of the papers for today.
So I have a question regarding during like a flooding, you were saying that AM station was able to continue the operation. Can you briefly explain how the connectivity was made? You were mentioning about the uplink and downlink for that one. Just was a case study.
Yeah, so I'll try my best. I'm not the super technical guy, but basically we have the two servers, the main and the backup playout server. Usually it's just like a Windows 1 RU. Those were sitting at the transmitter site. They're hooked up to the satellite receivers, usually Livewire or something similar, but just depending on what kind of audio the exact receiver has, because I think one's a Wagner receiver and one's an XDS receiver. So different outputs, but basically we've connected our boxes to the satellite boxes. And because of that, we can receive cues and control the switching right in the cloud in our software. So because of that, since everything's out at the transmitter, and yeah, there was a ton of flooding in Houston, there was millions of homes without power, since their transmitter site wasn't hit by that, and that's where the essential equipment was, they were able to stay on air and play out not only the satellite programming, but also play out the live show. And they didn't have a live show that particular week. They had set up some best ofs just in anticipation of that. But had they wanted to broadcast live, they totally could have, because it's just feeding directly out to the transmitter site.
Anyone else? It's actually a dad joke that ChatGPT just wrote for me. It's why are traditional broadcast engineers scared of the cloud?
Why?
Because they've been fighting lightning for generations.
All right, I got competition. Who else has a question?
Hey, Andrew, can you describe, and maybe I'm missing, but can you describe how an unattended talk radio station might integrate satellite programs and FTP delivered programs from various sources? Some must be played back live right then, others can be played back plus or minus, well, whatever time frame we want to if an FTP program. This is something that we're doing now, but I would love to understand how this could be done.
Yeah, so without going into as much detail as possible, basically we have inside the software the ability to say, at this time, look for this cue, K15, whatever the triggers are and the start cue or the end cue of a specific segment in relation to that specific receiver. So we basically can build that all out inside the platform, and as long as our boxes are hooked up to those satellite receivers, then we can receive those cues in real time for live programming. And for FTP shows or for delayed shows, we can set that up as well.
Would you ever foresee a time when the various talk show networks, and Premiere and all the others, could make available their shows in real time at AWS? So that this switching could all occur in the cloud and be delivered as a package to a transfer center?
Yeah, it's an interesting question. I don't think in the near future, like in the next 3 to 5 years, but maybe beyond that, it's possible. I think satellite's such an integrated technology in the US, as you know, and there are stations with 2 or 3 or 4, even more satellite receivers. So I think it would have to be a full industry-wide switch for something like that to happen. I don't see why it couldn't happen, but I don't think it will in the next few years, at least.
It seems like some company, maybe yours, maybe some third party we haven't heard of yet, maybe somebody who sells satellite time across different satellite providers could make available a suite of programs that would get in real time distributed to any AWS data center that needed it. And it would be delivered, it would be coded audio to keep the cost kind of not be crazy. So that would be a service that this person via AWS, or this company via AWS could provide. So that, lots of little news talk stations like mine could say, yeah, I want this show at this time and this show at this time. I'm willing to pay something a little above and beyond we get the show for free on Barter, right?
Right.
But I might be willing to pay a little something every month so that I can run the whole thing up in the cloud.
Yeah, and satellites, I don't know the exact costs for every station, but it's not cheap, right? Renting satellite time, whether that's the network doing it or if it's the station doing it. So something like that does make sense. I just don't know exactly, how it would happen, but I think it's possible.
Well, some of this genesis and idea came about when I owned some radio stations in American Samoa. And even though we can see what used to be the old, whatever the radio satellite was, Satcom 1R many years ago, and then it changed names. Now it's more middle of the sky. But it was right overhead in American Samoa, and we had exactly a 1 dB carrier to noise ratio because, of directional antennas, right? We used an 11 meter dish, and we got a 1 dB carrier to noise ratio in Samoa. It doesn't hit Samoa. So what we ended up doing is recording our top of the hour newscasts in Mississippi and just FTPing those to American Samoa, so the poor savages of American Samoa can have top of the hour news. And that gave me the idea. Well, gee, why can't this? Why can't I get other satellite shows either streaming or by FTP? Well, I guess the reason is because they're already paying for satellite. They don't want to increase their costs. But I just think it'd be interesting, and I think we have more and more stations that could put that kind of service to use if those were available in the cloud somehow.
Yeah, I know there's already satellite providers that are making some of those shows available, not only in real time, but also you can grab the segments on an FTP too. So maybe we're taking steps towards that. It makes sense to me though.
So a couple questions. So one of the biggest fears right now is how fast the platforms are changing. At Stingray, we've gone through and we've put to air or development or just in use of efficiency software that we use for 2 or 3 months, and then something better is right there, and you're getting rid of that forklifting and going to something else. Something like radio automation in a large scale, changing that is intimidating when it could change 2 years down the road. So that is one of the things that's holding us back from really diving in right now. The other one is the concern about cloud outages, like the recent Microsoft hit, ever hit in AWS, and what your plans are on preventing something like that or minimizing the effects of that.
Yeah, so I mean, thankfully we haven't had any issues with AWS in the last 2.5 years since we've become an official partner of theirs. Of course, that doesn't mean it's not going to happen in the future, but I think so basically the way we run it is we have, so we take, say US East 2 and US West 2, just two different locations, and your infrastructure will be on one main location and then a hot standby backup on another. So, I mean, I don't know if I have a good answer for you. If something takes the entire AWS ecosystem down, I feel like there would be a lot worse problems than just our stations going off air at that point. But usually, if one location is hit, it's a hot standby backup, so it can fail over within 5 milliseconds to the other location. And the nice thing about how robust it is, say you have, US East 2, Canada East 2, better example, as your main location. Usually we have your data stored and duplicated and kind of mirrored in multiple data centers in that one region, and then also multiple data centers in the backup region as well. So it's not just one point of failure, it's kind of we spread the wealth just to make sure it's as safe and secure as possible. And then to your first point, Rich, with everything changing so fast, it's just the thing I always say is when you do go to change radio automation, it's tough. Do you buy out equipment that maybe in 5 years I'll have to buy out again or upgrade again? Or do you roll with something where, and we're not the only platform doing this, where you get all of the updates included, all the new features and everything, because it is so rapidly evolving. And it's kind of everyone has to look at what makes sense for their own business. But yeah, we're on the side of just, don't spend X amount of money up front, pay a little bit each month to get the support, to get the ongoing updates, and not only updates, but all the new features as well. So yeah, point taken very well. It's a rapidly changing industry.
So my question is now, what is left on the studio?
It depends. Yeah.
And what do you do in the studio now?
You can have, so even though I talked all about the cloud and kind of eliminating hardware, if you ask my CEO and you ask me, we still would love to have a studio with a nice board in it and with 4 microphones and really everything you need to have a kind of a normal radio studio. Maybe it just looks a little cleaner than
my question
normal.
is, what is left in the studio? Since what will the cloud do? What is the cloud doing? What are you doing in the cloud? Since everything is coming from the studio, let us say there is a news broadcast from the studio, what is the cloud doing? Because the output of the studio goes directly to the transmitter. What is the cloud? Where is the cloud?
So in this instance, the cloud is basically doing 95 to 99% of everything.
Of what?
And then the last mile is the play out to the transmitter.
No, the question is, what is the cloud doing? Since in the studio there is a newscast, you're playing the newscast, you have everything. What do you mean? You mean to say your controller is controlling the cloud?
It can.
Playing the cloud?
Well, everything is playing out of the cloud.
So what is happening now in the studio?
Basically, he's taking your file server room and sticking it in the cloud, so that your wide orbit, your RCS, your media touch, whatever, it's just all up there. It's soft touch.
So you mean to say now you're just doing some newscasts and you are playing on the cloud? Your equipment is on the cloud?
Essentially, yeah.
Oh boy. So you can do everything in the house, right? So no more,
Yeah,
no
you-
more, no more.
You can be a federal employee, you can stay at home.
You pop open your web browser and you have access to your stations right there.
Huh?
Basically, it's a cost-saving event. You don't have to go and rent a separate building or a separate room or anything. You're in your own house, you're in a building that you own, whatever
And
the case
then-
may be. You're only paying for the bills that you need to pay for. You're not paying for overhead on electrical and everything else.
Agree. Now the next question is, what will the government earn from this cloud?
What will the
Because
government
right now,
earn?
if I will be broadcasting, if I have a broadcasting studio, I'll be paying all taxes, everything. And then the government earns money from me. If I put it in the cloud, where will the taxes I'm supposed to pay the government? Who will be paying those taxes? But AWS will never pay those taxes.
You will, Willie. Thank you, Willie.
We're sending the bill to Willie, okay?
I am not joking, but this is the problem now. Google, Netflix, all those big things, they're not paying the government the taxes. They are making huge money and they're not giving back to the government.
I should have
Whereas
brought.
in local broadcasting, we give back to the government to sustain the economy. With the system, gone in the wind.
If you guys were here the last 2 years, we had Noor, our solutions architect from AWS, with us. I should have brought her again so we could have grilled her about the taxes. Because I don't have an answer for you on that.
Okay, so does your AI voice thing support like a co-host and host? And can you increase or decrease the level in which the co-host and host argue and insult one another?
So it will support a co-host in that you can kind of highlight some of the text that's been generated and say, I want this voice to give me that as a topic. I think we're getting to the point in the future where it can sort of be more of a back and forth, and hopefully a very fun and entertaining back and forth. We're not quite there yet, but I will say what you outlined earlier with 11 Labs, them and some of the other technology, like that's the voice technology that we're using, and then we're taking that with our prompts and with our automation and playout system and kind of combining that into one product. But I would like to see a little, on top of what we're already developing with the co-host, a little more back and forth, because I think that's the next logical step. Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
What if the information is not accurate that is generating? Like, is there a way, the host, do they have a responsibility to verify the information before they announce it? Or at some point they could totally rely on them, and there's always that possibility that the information may be coming from conspiracy theories or all sorts of stuff like that. So
yeah, so with our AI voice tracker, and I assume also with this product, we usually say, when you're looking up this artist or that song, only check these particular news sources. So we try to put that extra layer of defense in terms of credibility and making sure the information is correct. But of course, there is always a chance that something could slip through. So as a former TV reporter and radio host myself, I would probably, even though it's already generated there, I would probably do a quick search just to make sure and just to get that second level of verification.
yeah, so we're not gonna feed information from Facebook or anything like that.
Exactly, yeah. Yeah, so that's part of it, how we built it, is not to just comb the entire web, just to comb specific parts of it. But there's still times that it's wrong. I mean, I'll give you just kind of a weird example. I was using ChatGPT not too long ago, and my wife and I are going to Myrtle Beach. Our first thing we do when we plan a trip anywhere is, where has Guy Fieri gone on Diners, Drive-Ins, and Dives? And he has not let us down yet. So I looked it up. He's not been anywhere in Myrtle Beach. But then I asked ChatGPT a couple days later, what food shows have been to Myrtle Beach? And they listed 3 places from Diners, Drive-Ins, and Dives. So I looked it up again. He hasn't been there. So that was the first time that I encountered where ChatGPT actually was sort of just inventing or making something up. A very niche example, But that's my little case study there.
The word I use, and it's used, is hallucinated.
Hallucinating, exactly.
It hallucinated experiences.
Is that what they do?
So from that we gather that Fox News isn't using ChatGPT.
So in a lot of cases, we're talking about making sure that whatever you're doing, you're confirming it. And you're trying to give it as much information as possible so the accuracy is better. The more information you give it, the more accurate it's going to be.
Yeah, and on a totally different topic, prompting is, your answers and your responses from these large language models are only as good as your prompts. And your prompts, I'm telling you, 2, 3, 4 paragraphs, 1 to 200 words long at least, the more specific you are, the better it will be.
Did you end up looking into those restaurants that it suggested?
I did.
Besides just, verifying them?
Yeah, there was. We have. So this is a trip for later this year, but the plan is to, I think I'd say 2 of the 3 look pretty good. So we'll report back next August.
Just question: If did you use some filter to know if there is fake news? Some algorithm to know if there is some fake news or no, because sometimes fake news can affect the market and like down or high.
Yeah, definitely. And it's a great question, sort of builds on the last question. So what we do with, let me zip back here. So you kind of see in the blue bar there's local news, weather, sports, and those are topics that we can, during a setup with a station who's using AI voice tracking, we can define RSS feeds to basically to say this is where you pull the weather from, this is where you pull the news from, this is where you pull sports from. So we don't just comb the web for news or even for music or artist information. We make sure we lock it down to this RSS feed that you provided, whether it's your own, whether it's a local newspaper you partner with, or a TV station. So we want to make sure that's as actual and verified as possible.
You basically answered my question, but I'm going to ask you. So the ones you are picking, those are the resources you are taking. So are you paying for them, or just you are getting free?
If there's an RSS feed that they'll share with us for the setup, it's not something we're paying for. As far as I know, I'm not necessarily the setup AI guy on our side, so I can find that out more for you. But as far as I know, it's just open RSS feeds.
No, the reason is I am saying you are going there, but someone is already created that.
Someone's creating the content, right?
So that's what I believe that the fight is going on. I believe.
Yeah.
Anyone else? Over to you, Jim.
Okay. Andrew, we want to thank you very much for coming.